What's going on, people? It's Mr. Door back again with a review show. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yes, we're talking about yesterday's draw. Nottingham Forest draw 0-0 at Brighton. Was it a deserved point, people? Get your comments in below. We'll get everyone's opinion in a minute soon. There's only three of us here. We're waiting for the late come on, do daily. So people in the comments, if you want to slag Des off, please do. Feel free. I don't care. I'm only joking. Be nice, though. Be nice. Don't put no silly comments. But before I introduce the comment, like I said, if you are new to my channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you know, and comment below. What was your thoughts on the game? Did you go to the game? Are you happy with the point? Do you think we could have done better? Get your thoughts in. Right, let's get the panel in. Next to me, we've got the man himself, Glenn. How you feeling, Glenn?
Yeah, pretty knackered after the drive back. Although I live in Southeast London, so I didn't have quite the journey that some of you guys did. You were telling me about early doors, but yes, I'm well. Looking forward to talking about the game. It was a really fantastic evening. I'm excited about talking about tonight. Hopefully, you won't yawn all the way through
it. Next door, we've got the man himself. Everyone knows this guy. He can talk for Britain. He should be the PM. Forget Liz Truss or whatever her name is. We've got the man himself, Dave. How you doing, Dave?
Yeah, I'm good, Ben. Thanks. I have managed to recover. I feel a lot fresher now. Although my looks are so ravaged, I look like the sort of bloke who doesn't go to bed till 4 o'clock every night. So, yeah, it was a long journey back. I had another journey once I got back to the City Ground, but generally, as a Forest supporter, certainly been amongst that 3,000 whatever last night was fantastic. Great memories. And, what we saw on the field was testing at times, but it's in the experience bank,
We'll do the same. Like I said, people we're waiting for Des. So people, if you want to slag off Des, just slag him off. Like I said, he's been doing his, as you know, Des does his do daily running. So as you know, Des has got his own YouTube channel. So if you can do a massive favor for him, please do subscribe to Do Daily if you can, because if you do suffer with mental health and everything, Des is the man you can talk to, and Glenn as well. Glenn does a little park run as well. So people, if you do want to talk about mental health and that, he's here now. The man himself. Here he is. Mr. Do Daily. Bloody hell, you just look smart, Des. Has Kay dressed you up?
No, I in between getting back from Brighton and being busy this evening, I went for a haircut.
Bloody hell. You look dapper. People in the comments, do you think Des looks dapper? Get your comments in, man. He's looking. Bloody hell. He's married. Women. If there's any women watching, he's married. So just be nice. Okay? Be nice.
This was football chat, not a dating show.
Door dating.
All right. So, like I said, people, we've got Glenn, Des, and Dave. Please try to look to all three of them. Like I said, people, we're going to talk about yesterday's game. Like I said, was you happy with the point? Do you think Forest could have done much better? Let me start with you, Glenn. All four of us went to the game as well, people. So, like I said, that's why I thought I'll get three of them in. So, if you did go to the game, get comments in, and we'll talk about it. Right, we'll start with you, Glenn. What was your thoughts on the game?
Oh wow! Okay, where are we going to start? I echo everything everybody's saying over there. The hardest fought point I have ever seen Forest play. I'm obviously not as much as you guys are, and I don't see them play as often as you guys do. But I've very rarely seen them battle out a point away from home on a Tuesday night with 3,000 fans singing, as I did last night. It was a Herculean effort from everybody, particularly Cook and McKenna and Yates, and no doubt we will talk about those at length. But it was if you're gonna start your season on the eve of the Bristol, I know it's today, the eve of the Bristol City turnaround.
Wait. Let me say something about this. Glenn's good mate of his, Lalo Taylor. Shout out to Lalo Taylor. Has watched my vlog today. He inboxed me on Instagram saying that your vlog was sick. I didn't know nothing about it. Shout out to Lyle Taylor. Glenn used to teach him. That's all.
I did. Lyle was fantastic. Yeah. So I'll let the other guys have a turn. But it was.
No, don't, Glenn, don't, because you know what these two are like. These.
It was a yeah. If you're gonna start in terms of the first away clean sheet point for the season, there's no better place to go, I don't think, to certainly that extent. There's to go to the team who are in 7th and who there was a great stat I was hearing on the way home. Haven't scored in 54 shots over the space of 3 games. So yeah. Next.
Yeah, next. Well, who should we pick? Des or Dave? People in the comments, who should we get? Because whenever me and Glenn, we can just sit here and let these two talk. I've got my drink with her. So people, let me
go and get one actually.
go get one, Glenn. Go get one, Glenn. You know what? We'll start with Dave. Des has been doing it 2 days. We'll start with Dave. Let Des little chill for a bit. Go on, Dave. What's your thoughts?
You get your breath, Des. You've had a tough day today, mate. All right.
All
I've done today, he's run a marathon, and all I've done is get a bag of heavy shopping for the old dears, and I had a flu jab as well, actually. As for last night, I mean, the experience, just take the game out, the experience was absolutely fantastic. And while our team is finding it hard at the moment, and they're down in the bottom 3, and, results are results. The Nottingham Forest supporters last night were Champions League standard, absolutely out of this world. The number of people who weren't as fortunate as us to get to the game was saying that when they watched it on Amazon Prime, all they could hear was Forest supporters singing. And I thought, after a slightly flat effort at Molineux, and probably with good reason, because it was a dour and dire football match on Saturday, I thought the Forest fans really came back into their own last night, and I think they helped. I mean, as Glenn said, it required a Herculean effort. It was a very, very hard-earned point. Was it a deserved point? Probably not. But actually, that makes it a lot better. You can turn it round and say, Forest should have been beaten and all that. But you can turn it around and say, well, if they're going to have all that possession and that dominance of the game and that dominance of the ball and create that many chances, then more fool Brighton for not putting them away. And actually, what I kind of noticed last night was the names you picked. We were talking earlier. I mean, the spine of the team. So Dean, I thought was terrific, and he had to be, because Brighton were the better team. Brighton looked like the team that had been in that division a few years. Forest looked like they've been in it like 2 or 3 weeks, really. So it was always going to be difficult. I thought Dean made some great saves. I thought the much maligned Cookie, he's too slow, he's too all this, that, and the other. Cookie's mind's still alert, and Cookie is one of our few guys who knows this level. I thought Cookie had a cracking game. Scott McKenna as well. And then I thought Remo Freuler, while not standing out, again, was kind of busy and purposeful. Oral Mangala, good to get an hour in his legs. And then, the man of the hour, Mr. Broken Nose. I thought what he does, he's not the best player in the world. We all know that. He's not a silky guy who's going to carve teams to pieces. And Forest at the moment, we're trying to walk first before we can run. But, Ryan Yates, again, ridiculously over-maligned in my view, because nobody gives as much to this club as Ryan. I thought he was, in terms of personality and presence and sort of leadership, I thought Yatesy, more so as the game went on, I thought the first half was like really difficult. And there wasn't a lot really to say about Forest, certainly second half. And I thought Yatesy did that. Yatesy sort of imposed himself on Caicedos and those guys in the middle of the park, which was good, which was what we needed. To the extent that really the last 20, 25 minutes, it seemed like Brighton ran out of inspiration and Forest were relatively comfortable towards the end. I know we were all biting our nails in the away end while we were sat on our padded seats. The first stadium I've ever been with padded seats, right?
It felt like royalty. It felt like royalty, didn't it, Dave? It felt like royalty. People walking past.
I felt like we were mixing with the toffs last night. It was rough Nottingham Forest. But I just think that, when it's been so tough as it has recently, at the moment, the emphasis has to be on being hard to beat. And I think in the last 3 games, Steve and the lads, and they all worked hard for each other last night. They were definitely playing for their manager. I don't think there's any attitude issues. And I think we want them to play nice, attractive, expansive football. We tried that early on. It didn't work. You then, you have to kind of consolidate a little bit. And we've conceded, 2 in the last 3 games. Now, we need to start scoring more. But I think the first thing to do is get back to the adage that Cloughie had of all good sides are built on clean sheets. So at the moment, it's just being hard to beat, I think, is where we need to be.
I would say, where's the comment? This is from Dawn. Are you enjoying McDonald's, Des?
Quick one.
Sorry. Thank you, Dawn, for that.
Hi, Dawn.
Des, can you talk? Or have you got a cheeseburger?
No, I went for a coffee, and we just got a few fries.
Right. Talk to me, Des. How did you feel about the game?
It was interesting, wasn't it? It was really intriguing as it evolved and developed into the way it ended. Of course, we're all looking back now, thinking, great point. We had to dig in deep. Anybody who's listened to me on various platforms on here or on other things I do will know I've been kind of bemoaning the fact that we haven't competed in games, and all I really wanted to see, as much as anything, of course I want to see us win, I want to see us progress and climb up the table, but I understand it's going to be difficult, and all I've really wanted to see is to get this competitive streak back within us. We know Steve Cooper's teams tend to have that. They can dig deep from what we've seen last season, and it's just, unfortunately, just being brutally honest, it's not been there. The Wolves game was particularly concerning. So to go into a game where I expected to come up against a team firing on all cylinders, and keep them at bay over 90 minutes is really pleasing, because it's progress. A lot of people are commenting on Twitter and other places saying, well, we still didn't win, we still didn't create any chances. But the fact of the matter is, we didn't get beat either, and we was in that game, especially in the second half. I thought the first half we was under a lot of pressure. Brighton shown what they're good at. They also showed what they're not so good at. Forest played well in the first half when they was in possession. I was saying this to the guys at the game. Out of possession, we were really poor again. We got rings run round us, and that's just being honest. First half. But as the game wore on, it looked like we was going to seal that point at least. We was never going to score. I'll be completely honest with you. I think if we were still playing now, we still wouldn't have scored. But we did enough defensively, and as the game wore on, we frustrated them. The likes of Yates, McKenna, Cook, Aurora, Nico Williams, all sort of came into their own, and you could see the confidence just building up a little bit. And with the vocal support as well, which was behind them, you could see that the front players were chasing things down. Brennan Johnson, Morgan Gibbs-White puts a shift in. He's not played as well as he could have recently, but he's put some big shifts in, and Johnson chasing everything. I think there was a moment first half where something changed for me. It was when Johnson basically ran 40, 50 yards to charge down the fullback. And it was just one of those where it goes out for a throw-in, but the whole stand got up, started singing his name again, and you've seen a difference in confidence. Going forward, when we had the ball, we looked a different side. Still those issues, maintain what I mentioned before about when we didn't have the ball, but second half, because we were stifling them, because the pressure was building on them, we grew into that game, and it never looked like we was going to get beat. Just to reiterate, it looks like we've got problems in terms of how we take that forward yet again, but we have to start somewhere, don't we? So anybody who's looking at us going, oh, hairy-fairy, we still didn't win, we still didn't do this, we need to get off the bottom of the table. Where do we start? I think we start with a challenge by Brennan Johnson on the edge of somebody's penalty area, and then sort of gaining confidence from such situations and building on. It might be a little bit far-fetched, and I was going to tweet it cheekily last night, but it almost felt like not a Bristol City moment. It almost felt like Barnsley. Do you know, it almost felt like that point. Is this where it turns? Because it was Barnsley at half time, wasn't it? Where we was under the cosh, we was under pressure. Cooper's second game, we'd only drew the first game. Yeah. And all of a sudden, second half, something happened in that game which we never looked back from as the season went on. And it almost felt to me whilst I was making my way back to Brighton city centre on my own last night, it almost felt like one of those turning points. It might be too soon to say that, but all I was asking for, I think it was more important to get a performance than it was to get the win in many ways. Of course, in the Premier League, we'll take a win any which way we can. You know, you're never going to turn down 3 points, but I felt the performance, especially second half, was the key part to that, because we can build confidence on that. You know, we can build from it and we can take it forward. And it's also, without the Wolves game, you know, it's another game we haven't conceded a goal. 2 of the last 3, and 1 was a penalty, a dubious one at that. So, without it being cliched, as some people are sort of intimating about Cooper's words, you know, we have to build from somewhere, don't we? You know, we have to take this forward and be optimistic, because otherwise, what's the point being here?
1 penalty away from 3 unbeaten, right? Now, when we were shipping all those goals, Tottenham, City, Fulham, Bournemouth, we tried the way that we played in the Championship because that was the way we knew. And then it patently became obvious that that wasn't the way to go, because we were just playing into everybody's hands. And like Des is absolutely right. Last night we competed, certainly second half. And I found it really, really interesting that Brighton betrayed themselves a little bit towards the end of that game, in that they their body language said, oh, we expected to win this quite comfortably, and now it's not happening. And they got a bit, to use a local word, they got a bit mardy, I thought, and they kind of disappeared up their own offside. And I thought Forest at the end looked pretty comfortable, having not looked comfortable for about 70 minutes. So, you know, as Des said, we have to start somewhere. And the way I'm looking at it, and I thought we'd get nothing last night. I thought we'd get beat quite comfortably last night. And I'll go on the record saying that. In fact, Dore's got me on his record, on his vlog, saying 3-0 to Brighton.
I think I said the same, but I cut that bit out of the vlog out.
Yeah, quite there were some hardy souls predicting a win, but I wasn't one of them. So to be proved wrong, and we didn't get beat, was good. And I think what impressed me the most was that there have been accusations of laziness and, you know, disharmony and all this kind of stuff. Saw none of that last night. They all, you know, the lads at the front, okay, they're not scoring goals and all that. But as Des says, the moment where Brennan Johnson chased down, I think it was Robert Sanchez, and forced a throw in. I mean, maybe it says where we are at the moment. But when Brennan charged it down and put it out for a throw in, and it was not a dangerous moment for Brighton at all, really. It just lifted everybody. Everybody in that away end went berserk. I think a lot of them went berserk, and I did, because it was like they are people who've been moaning. Look how lazy Brennan Johnson isn't. He put the work in. And Morgan doesn't want to have to play like that, but he put the work in. You know, Jesse's getting pelters. Jesse will always get pelters because of his aura and his personality. But Jesse, while it wasn't his best game, let's be honest, Jesse did his share as well. And I do think they're all working for each other. And if you've got that, if they were all like looking like a rabble who didn't care about each other, then I would be worried. But I kind of saw, I mean, it's not going to get any tougher in the next 2 games. Let's be honest. We're playing
easy game, Dave. Easy games, Dave. Please stop being negative.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think we'll beat Liverpool 8-0. I think we'll see off Arsenal 15. You know, I think we can score some touchdowns or some tries against them too. But you know what? The journey home. Had we lost, the journey home would have been, you know. But the journey home wasn't too bad. Yeah, not perfect, not by a long way. But I think we have to put away this divine right idea that we're going to go straight into this league and start winning. That's utterly unrealistic. That's juvenile, and that is lacking perception, in my view. Yeah. And I think what Forest have to do is they have to learn to walk first before they can run. And a lot of these teams that are in our situation, I think Leicester did it a couple of years before they won the league. You know, Villa had to do it, survived on the last day. Brighton themselves had to do it. So, you know, we're following the blueprints that other, you know, slightly out of their depth promoted teams are having to go through. I mean, Malcolm Owen last night, as he usually does, he hit the nail on the head and he said, look at the experience and the nous that Brighton have got from 6 years in this division, and look how the word I used to describe Forest was callow, which means inexperienced and learning the ropes. And that was why the game, as Des says, was fascinating, because you got teams at opposite ends of the spectrum, really. But last night there was it wasn't great football match, but there was lots to like about our club and our lads, I thought.
100%. The 69 people in, if you can do a massive favor, hit the like button as well. Make sure everyone subscribes to Mr. Do Daily as well. His link is in the description. Let's talk about some players. And there's been some great, like I said, it was 0-0, fantastic point, but there's players that I want to mention, and they've been criticised. And we mentioned Cook, we mentioned McKenna, we mentioned Yates, but the player that I want to mention is Cook. Everyone's saying that, Cooper prefers is relying on Cook. Who else are meant to play? Let me ask Glenn. For me, Cook, he dealt with Welbeck, good striker there. Come on, he was class, wasn't he? Class.
He was. I am on the fence.
He made one mistake. One mistake in the first half. One mistake he didn't. Yeah, but the rest was all right.
Yes. He knows. Well, it's really interesting. I'll go back to the very first decision he made last night. The head of geography at work is a Brighton season ticket holder, and was talking about the old wily fox that is Cookie, who'd obviously known that the Brighton shoots one end of the stadium.
Glenn, you're not paying your bill, Glenn. You're not been paying your bill.
Changed ends just before kickoff. Meant that I'm here again. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear
you.
You've not been paying your bill.
Weirdly, I saw you guys go, and I thought, what's wrong with everybody else? Surely it's not me. It was me. Sorry, apologies. So Cookie obviously knew when he played against Bournemouth before. That he obviously knew when he played against Bournemouth before. They prefer to play the way they played the second half, the first half. So he obviously knew that and made that decision. It changed a little bit, not that it made a big difference, but it's just one of those things he knows, isn't it? Just knows what he prefers. But you're absolutely right, Ben. With the exception of that one error, that small error that he made, and I think it was the combination of him and Henderson not really quite kind of connecting and communicating in terms of putting pressure on the back. On the keeper, and it doesn't need to happen, and he just needs to put his foot through it and clear it away. And that was that was obviously what he was doing more often than not, actually, with his head, and he was making a really, really good in terms of defence, reading the game over there, and yeah, I couldn't agree more. Lee and a couple of others, we were talking on the way back. Lee particularly with me about, so he was his man of the match last night. I thought him and McKenna had an equally as good game. But yeah, no, but exactly what we need in that situation, is it? Just being right there at the right time and battling out. So yeah, couldn't say anything other than positive things about Cook's performance last night.
100%. There's another player. Again, he gets on social media. He always gets slagged off. And he was a captain yesterday, Mr. Ryan Yates. And I've always said Ryan Yates is not the world class player, as we know. I rate him because he's come full academy and he works hard than any other person at the club. That's my opinion. Des, how was he? As your opinion, how was there? And people in the comments, do you think Ryan Yates? People say he's not a Premiership player, but he proved it yesterday against a team that was 7th in the league, and he proved it. Des, talk about Ryan Yates yesterday, man.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because again, without going on everything I've said before. I have been talking about Ryan Yates recently and how important he is to Forest and how fit he looks and how sharp he is. I've been talking about this a lot. I think he gets in my team every single week. Regardless of who's playing, regardless of what fancy name is playing alongside him. He just looks the part. We're in a scrap. We're in a dogfight. A lot of the games are going to be like Brighton away. Even at home. So we need players who can roll up the sleeves, get stuck in, but also we all say it all the time. He's got limited ability. No, he hasn't. Because you know, when I look at other players in the team, and I've been saying this a lot, and people will come for me, feel free. You know, for you is Ryan Yates, who can't tackle, for me. You know? There's a Ryan Yates who can't tackle, because Ryan Yates can make 2-yard passes, you know, but what he can also do, he can go box to box. He can be winning tackles on the edge of his own box. He can be heading balls over the crossbar. You know, sometimes we like them to go under, but he's getting in a position to score a chance. And that's the point I'm trying to make there. He also gets kicked all over the place, kicked in the face, you know, and he'll put his body and his head on the line for it. I think it's about time we stop sort of saying, is he good enough for the Premier League? He's one of Forest's best midfielders, because he can do a little bit of everything. And what he's done since he was in the Championship, he's got even fitter. Again, I've been clamouring for more of the players that got us here to be included. You know, and Ryan Yates is probably, the way things are panned out, the main man in terms of that at the moment. I'd like to see one or two others sort of reintroduced back towards the team, or at least getting more minutes on the pitch. But Yates is playing brilliant, and Yates, he always plays brilliant to whatever fashion people are saying it, because we've heard Roy Keane say, "Oh, the boy's limited," or whatever. You know, he's a good lad. He listens. He does this. I think that's a disservice, because Roy Keane, we know, is looking for a lot more than most people from a midfielder. That's why he's not a manager of a football team, because he expects too much, probably, and can't accept the level that some of these guys are at. But I think it's a massive disservice, and I think he's so crucial to what we do, because, again, the point I made right at the start about being competitive, when Yates is not in the team, you know, and I'm not saying the players at the back wouldn't want to be competitive, but they're not quick enough at times to be competitive against some of these lightning fast teams. What Yates can do is get about teams, get in the phase, get amongst them. You know, he was frustrating the hell out of Brighton second half yesterday. You know, they were still decent. You know, they were still passing the ball around, but he was niggling away. He was running into people. They were running into him. You know, somebody who's not just going to pass the ball and move out the way, he'd let them run into him. But he'd buy the free kick. You know, a bit of professionalism or sort of winning professional free kicks. So I think it's a bit unwarranted, the stick he gets, and I think we need to stop talking about it, because, like I said,
exactly,
I think he's one of the best players, if not in terms of full-on ability. I'll take that back a little bit, in terms of what we need for this current situation.
Before I do get David, I'll see there's a message from a Leeds fan, Ross. How are you doing, Ross? Mr. Dore, Yates isn't a Premiership player because Premiership is rugby. Yates is a Premier League player, if I'm honest. He's been impressed with him so far. Leeds fan. He is. And that's 100%. I want to go through the comments as well. This is from Justin. How do you feel about midfield combo with Yates, Furlong, Mangala? Worked yesterday. Dave, you take that.
Well, we didn't get beat. We were everybody on earth, myself included, thought that my trip to Brighton would be a chastening experience, and I'd be travelling about 4 or 5 hours or whatever, having lost and glum, and then looking at the mountain of Liverpool and the mountain of Arsenal. Right? We didn't get beat. Now, Desi's point, a brilliant point about Yates's nuisance value. Right? He did, you know. Yeah, he took one in the face. Casados did not mean it at all. Casados was trying to clear the ball. But Yatesy, it reminded me of Incy in Italy and Terry Butcher all them years ago. Yatesy wore his blood with pride. And I look at Ryan, and I absolutely adore the kid. I think he's a good guy. He's a guy that, if you love Forest, like we all do, and you see in Ryan Yates the embodiment of the love we have for the club, he is a personality. I look at him and I just think, what a grand lad. He gives his all every week. He gets all these pelters from people who want him to be messy, or they want him to be Pirlo, or they want him to, people who are like, actually what we ought to do with these shows, Ben, is to just act as if Twitter doesn't exist. We might then get some level of sanity.
You know what? You know what I'm going to do? I feel like the people who actually basically shoot Ryan Yates, I should get him on the show. I should get him on the show.
I tell you what, I won't do it.
Right. Right. Let me do something. If there's any people that who, like I said, who is destroys Ryan Yates, come on the show. Message me on Twitter.
I tell you what, mate.
No, we'll have a discussion.
When I looked at Yatesy last night and he got blood coming from his nose and he had one in the nads, right? And so Yatesy was basically saying to us in the away end, right, I've had this one for you lot, right? I've had one down there. I've risked my future fatherhood down there for you lot in the stands, right? And I looked at Yatesy and I thought, what a grand lad. He's giving all for me. He's giving all to the 30 quid I paid to go into that stadium, right? He gave me my money's worth. And I thought he was absolutely wonderful. And he did get to the point where he was like a bone stuck in Brighton's throat. Des is right. Brighton kept trying to play their nice football, and credit to Brighton, they play good football. They're a good club. No problem with Brighton. And then what happened was that Cookie was doing the same sort of thing. And I'm really glad I thought Cookie had his best game of the season last night. The two bits with Cookie for me were the mistake in the first half, which was down to the turf, not him. He had a bobble. And then second half, Brighton hooked a little ball over the top towards the end for little Tariq Lamptey, who's a little whippet, a cracking little player, dead quick. The ball went over the top, and Cookie athletically volleyed it away. And I thought it was a brilliant moment. Scotty McKenna, he picked up the baton as well. Dean Henderson. You know, what we're coming around to saying by sort of a gradual process is we've got a little core of lads in that team who've got personality and are desperate to want to do well. Brennan Johnson's closing down in the first half. I mean, it was just a brilliant moment. It was a nothing moment in a bigger context, but in the context of that one match, and that was a lad saying, I know a lot of you think I'm lazy. How about that? And I was cheering from the rafters because that said to me, Brennan Johnson really cares. That says to me that Brennan Johnson went home after the Wolves game and was probably devastated and had spent the 48 hours, 72 hours since then, utterly determined to be better last night than he was on Saturday. And on Saturday, he's a boy of 21, learning in the hardest football league in the world. Some of these people moaning, you go and try it because it's really difficult. And he's also got, he's got a football heritage in his family that he's wanting to live up to. He wants to make his dad proud of him and his family proud of him. So I looked at Brennan, I had total sympathy for him. We've all had a bad game. We've all missed a penalty, right? But I loved his attitude last night. And I like Morgan as well. Morgan doesn't want to, like I say, I'm repeating myself, but Morgan worked hard for the team. Like he did on Saturday, he worked hard to try and stop Adama Traore. So, I mean, the point, the absolute... That wasn't me, right? That was a motorbike in Teen High Street, all right? What the actual point, and Des has hit on it, it's this competitiveness. Forest were up for the battle last night. They knew it wasn't going to be easy. And I thought there was, there's lots to work on from a technical point of view and in transition into attack and all that. But don't be trying to do the fancy stuff until you've built a little platform of being hard to beat. And Yatesy captain, Yatesy led last night. Yatesy was a talisman in that regard. And a lot of the others picked up that bat. I thought Aurel Mangala, what a really good hour to get into his legs. He played all right, Aurel Mangala did. And Harry Toffolo was unlucky. He came on, did right. Sergio Aurier didn't want to come off. Now, there's a lad who wants to play, right? And then I'm going to give a little shout out to Julian Biancone because he looked all right when he came
that's
on.
what we'll talk about him later because I thought he was good, Dave, as well.
He was. So lots to like, lads, really, you know what I mean? And certainly not a night for dissecting anybody and ridiculing them, anything like, I don't want to do that. Life's too short for that anyway.
100%. I want to go through the comments, and this is from Mark Stewart. I will donate to charity Mr. Door choice if Forest stay up. Mark, that's a deal. If Forest stay up, we'll look for a charity. I think they'll stay up. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really, really, really hard, but still a long way to go. I'm just going for this one. I saw people's comments about another YouTuber just being disrespectful to Ryan Yates. It is what it is.
He wouldn't say it to Ryan Yates' face, would he?
Nope.
Go and say it to Ryan Yates' face if you're that brave. Ryan Yates has got the scars of battle. Go and say it to him.
Des, let's talk about Dean Henderson. People's been criticising him by his kicking, but he made some great saves yesterday, didn't he, Des?
Yeah, he did, and he made that great one towards the end, which kind of got missed into the floor and was spinning up into the top corner, which ended up a bit miraculous from the tamest shot you've ever seen. He had a good game, didn't he? He does what he does best. He is a shot stopper. We all know that. Been slightly surprised by the stats that came out about the long distance shots flying in past him. Some of them have been absolute worldies. Some of them, perhaps you'd think he could save them. But that's what happens, isn't it? When you're getting peppered left, right and centre, when you're having to defend so much, when teams are more clinical than Brighton, it's going to happen. And, of course, just like everybody in the team, his confidence has suffered. And when I spoke earlier about that click moment with Brennan's charge down, it was a moment where I saw confidence just go up a notch, all the way through. The fullbacks have been sort of outdone a couple of times down the sides. Their players got to the byline, pulled them back, and they had chances. Henderson made a good save from one of those as well. But you saw that confidence go up. And as the game went on, the distribution improved as well, didn't it? I noticed in the second half a couple of quick balls out, found the sort of, I wouldn't say fullbacks necessarily, but whoever was on the wing at the time. And it's just those little things that we've got to build on again, isn't it? As a team, we have to do it, but then individually, it happens. Brennan Johnson hearing his name being sung by 3,000 Forest fans is going to be music to his ears, isn't it? There was chance of Dino at one point towards Henderson. It's going to be music to his ears. And then the next time he gets the ball, and when we get to that point in the game when we're still in it, it was probably time wasting in all reality. But it's okay then to take a minute, take stock of the situation, make the right pass, bowl it out to the right person, and next time you don't feel under as much pressure again. And this is what we're saying about this sort of building base. Everybody's at that point of looking to build on their own performance, the team performance. And I think from Henderson's point of view, you just saw again that the distribution is not that much of a problem when things are going well. It seems in the games where balls are flying in past him and we're under pressure, we can see 3 goals in 10 minutes, that kind of thing. That's not going to do anyone's confidence any good. But form is temporary, isn't it? And class is permanent. And I think with Henderson, that's starting to show through again. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about him. I've talked to a Sheffield United fan. We both know Mr. Doyle quite a lot, and he's always raving, saying what's he playing for your lot for, and that kind of thing. But
you know about Des? Which one? Which Sheffield United fan? Which one?
Johnny. Sure.
Johnny. That's it. Johnny. Shout out to Johnny. Yeah, good lad.
But yeah, he's always questioning why he's playing for us. But again, like I say, I think I kind of hit my own point on the head there. Form is temporary and class is permanent. And again, the cream's rising to the top with Henderson. I think the more top saves he makes, the more time he feels like Forest are in the game and he can control it from the back, rather than chase, rather than kick long all the time. I think you'll just see him improve game on game. And with this recent one of not conceding 3 goals in 10 minutes, it's only going to help, isn't it?
Definitely.
There's 71 people, and if you can do a favour for me, do hit the like button if you can. Just for you, Glenn, like I said, we started Brennan, we started Mo Gibbs, his White, and Jesse Lingard for 3. Was you happy with that front 3, or do you think we could have played Dennis, Tyrone Rodney, even Sturridge? I feel sorry for Sturridge, like he's not been getting a chance at all. Was you happy with that front 3?
I was, yeah. I agree with you totally about Sam Sturridge. I was talking to a couple of others where we were sat last night. We saw Sam out warming up before the game. Yeah, there are obviously instances when you would have wanted to pause the match, pick a player up, drop Sam Surridge in, and then press play.
Yeah.
Right? That'll won you
Against
against the
Leicester.
post, right? But you can't always do that, can you? There's not why he's not playing. I don't know. You guys might. I don't know. There must be something that is happening that means that he's not even getting a couple of minutes at the end. It is obviously something that's very frustrating for him, and no doubt his the people around him that wants to see him getting involved. To answer your question, yes, I am. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is showing instances on numerous occasions, a couple of occasions, particularly last night, where he is desperate to get a goal. He's just, if anything, he's almost trying a little bit too hard. He's almost doing that little bit extra touch. I always liken situations like that to kids that I teach, and kids that were desperate to be found out or picked or someone has to, almost to show off a little bit, and they almost take that I'm in a team mentality out of it a little bit, and they always try that little extra touch, or they try and beat that extra guy, and it's just, I think I heard yesterday that Gibbs-White, in fact, it was a couple of days ago. I won't comment on that. But Gibbs-White just seems to be. He just needs to score. He just needs to just a one-you off his left ear, or just something to go. Okay, we're in the Premier League. We're playing. And we're now. No doubt some people have been talking about stats and Morgan Gibbs-White and the fact that Wolves have how many times he's played and the numbers of goals he's played in relation to the number of matches. The link that he's got with this club particularly and Cooper, I think, is going to make him a massive success. He just needs to take that little bit back step a little bit. Even if it's a layoff, he doesn't have to go and score himself. It just needs that extra thing. I think we talked about Jono, and I'll talk about Jono for until the cows come home. I think they should keep picking him every single game. And it doesn't matter to me one bit. I think he should play.
I think with Jono, it's just suffering with low confidence. I think the whole team is, and like I said, you always these kind of players, like Ryan Yates and Brennan, are the easiest targets.
Of course,
always going to be easy targets.
And Dave, you hit the nail on the head there. We all remember what we were doing when we were 21. I was in my third year at university. I'm building towards a 4-year degree of become a PE teacher. I was working in London. I remember some kids who were 6 foot something just going, "Who's this bloke with this weird accent from Nottingham?" And I was going home thinking, not sure if I can work down here. I really want to work in London. I'm not sure. Yet he's doing it. You imagine me sitting in that dorm in the middle of nowhere in Borough, getting all of their parents and all of their parents' mates and all of the rest of the staff in the school and messaging me and my family through Twitter, if it existed back in 1997. It just would be soul destroying for a 21-year-old. And he's doing it. You're absolutely right, Dave. In the biggest league in the world, watched by billions of people across the week. And he's trying to get, nevertheless, remember, a place in his national team in his first World Cup. There must be so much going on in his life. And he's quite rightly, it sounded like we scored last night, didn't it? When he put that ball into Rome, whatever it was.
I think, Glenn, that moment, what you've just said, mate, is absolutely bang on. And not because you're agreeing with me. I'm not that vain, you know what I mean? It's funny when you were talking about show-offs. It's like me. I want to have that little extra word on this show, so I'm a show-off as well. You know what I mean?
You two are too talkative. But Glenn's trying to come in. You two are
he's the more mature.
You two are the most talkative person on YouTube ever. Glenn's trying to come in from a back post.
Is that why you asked me to talk about 3 players all at the same time? I've still not had the same amount of time as these lads. We haven't talked about Lingard yet, have we?
On Brennan, I mean, I look at Brennan and, the other thing, like you say, Glenn, billions are watching. Cameras are watching his every move, every hair that drops off his head, every ruffle of his shirt. He's got that. He's got his own thoughts, and then also he through his own excellence last year, he made a rod for his own back, because the other 19 would look at us and go, right, what's the biggest threat that Nottingham Forest offered to us? And all the other 19, I'm guessing from Manchester City right through to Bournemouth and Fulham, would have had the threat from Nottingham Forest as the pace and direct running of Brennan Johnson. So with Brennan, he's taken an incredibly difficult course with a very tough exam at the end of it to maintain the educational analogy. And he's going to have days where it doesn't work and it's not going to, I'd love to sit next to the kid. He strikes me as being quite a deep thinker, quite a shy sort of lad. I'd love to sit next to him and say to him, you know what, kid, I wish I was as good as you. You're dynamite. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to say to Yatesy, I love what you do. Ignore people sat in their underpants in bedrooms who've never played Premier League football because they don't know, right? And I'd like to say to Steve Cook, they all think you're slow, but I think you're quicker in your thinking than that. You know what I mean? They're all of them. What we have to look at with our lads, and they have my sympathy, and I want to be empathic towards them. They are being asked to do something incredibly difficult. Go to Manchester City and try and stop the best team on earth. Saturday, they've got to play the Champions League runners-up, right? And then they've got to play the league leaders who are clear at the top the following week.
Easy, Dave. Dave, it's easy. Stop, Dave. Stop it.
It's not easy, and we have to understand that. People will say I'm too soft-hearted, right? And say it's a ruthless business. Yeah, it is, but these are still human beings, and so our lads. It's really difficult. I'm going to let Des come in because he's got a point he wants to make.
Yeah, it's like Glenn's the teacher and Des is trying to put his hands up. That's fine. Go on, Des. Go on, Des.
I'm a student.
Mr. Hancock, sir.
I'm the student, Dave. My point is, I think we all might be overthinking it a bit too much, and everybody who's criticising the front players. The problem is, we've not settled down as a team. Everybody's saying we're not good enough. I see someone there saying we're delusional.
Wait. Peter, Peter, what's his name? Peter, the Irish guy. If you want to look at my channel, maybe next week, come on my channel and we have a debate, because every single time people have their opinion. I don't mind it, but Peter, message me on Twitter or anywhere, and you can come on my channel and we'll have a debate. Okay, because you come on the channel, you come on here every single time saying Cooper this, Cooper that. Come on my channel and we'll have a debate. Stop talking nonsense on here, okay? Des, go on.
And my point is, we're all saying there's no link up between the midfield. We've not got this position right. We've not got that position right. How on earth is anyone, not Brennan Johnson, anybody up front, when it's not working, whoever we play, how can we pinpoint one player out of anyone? Brennan Johnson, Tyro, Surridge, Morgan Gibbs-White, because we're not having enough attacking football for them to even be able to prove they're good players. Let's not forget, on Brennan Johnson alone, just over a season ago, he was playing for Lincoln. Yes, he was a Forest player, but he spent a season in League One. He spent one season in the Championship, and he's now in his first season in the Premier League. And he's not getting the kind of opportunities that made us all rant and rave about him, sing his name and believe he's a good player. I believe he's brilliant. I believe he's fantastic. And I think if you go back and look at some of the games, or if you re-watch them and listen what other people have got to say, the way he does lead the line at times is absolutely fantastic. Yes, he's made wrong decisions. He's made bad choices where he could have shot, he could have laid someone in. I saw the game, the highlights on Match of the Day, and they picked out a couple of on Saturday, after the Wolves game. They picked up a couple of instances where Brennan made the wrong choice. But that's what happens, is it, in a team that's struggling? And when it's flowing, when it's going forward, it's so much easier. But people are saying we're disillusional because we're accepting Cooper's 0-0. Well, we've got to put something right, haven't we? So if we're accepting the back is getting, no matter how many score, we're going to get outscored if we go kamikaze. So if we're accepting we've got to start at the back, and that's worked, and we're building forward, hopefully in time, Johnson, Gibbs-White, Lingard, and just on this point, I think the three of them should play every game. People will have me for that one as well. They're the best players. They're the best attacking players we've got. All of them. Better than anyone we signed. They're the best attacking players. And when they click, and I feel it will happen, it might not be soon, but it'll happen. I was going to say sooner rather than later. It might be later rather than sooner. As a three, they will tear somebody apart.
Yeah.
And you can clip that door.
I will clip it. I will clip it. I will clip it.
I know at some point, the three of them will have the best game as a trio we've seen for a long, long time, and it will really do the business. Yes, I believe we've got something missing. I've spoken in recent weeks about Keenan Davis and what he brought to the team. Whilst he wasn't an out-and-out scorer, he wouldn't have 8 Premier League goals by now either, and he wouldn't have had the same kind of opportunities. But he brought something in the way. He got the ball. He moved the ball forward. Well, and that's what we're missing. We're missing that player to drag the ball from here to here. You know, it's that sort of link-up play in between. So the guys at the top end of the pitch are almost being a little bit hung out to dry.
Yeah.
By the fact we're under so much pressure, and nobody's hanging anyone out to dry. It's just the fact that they're under so much pressure. It's not sticking because they're not hold-up players. They're not players for Dean Henderson to kick it up to and for it to stick on them. They're the guys who get it on the floor, play it around, do the business. When we come up against one of these struggling sides and those three really hit it off, I think people might start sort of thinking, hang on a minute, we've got decent players here. I saw a point last night on Twitter. Someone says, here's a crazy idea. Give Jesse Lingard the ball. He might actually be quite a good footballer. And that's the point, isn't it? It's finding that cohesion. But without building that solid base, you know, you're never going to have it. You've got to build and you've got to make parts of the team right, and then you take it from there. It all boils down to team selection again and knowing Steve Cooper needs to know his best 11 and who he can trust. I think as the weeks go on, we're starting to see.
Yeah.
So with Yates now almost, in my mind, that whether he has or he hasn't, cementing a place in midfield, with Cook and McKenna, not necessarily the pairing I'd go with, but it seems to be the trusted pair at the back. You know, you've got Yates, he's playing for you. Again, not someone I'd necessarily go with, but until you've got that set 11, which we've not had, there was even 3 changes last night, but there was some familiar positions. Familiar people. You've got Johnson at the top end, you've got Gibbs White, you've got Yates, you've got Cook and McKenna, you've got Henderson. There's six players.
There's a hub emerging, Des. There's a hub of a side, a core, right?
So where everybody's criticised that you've signed all these new players and it's all mismatch and everyone's criticising now because Johnson's not doing this or Williams is not doing this, until they're all together digging out results, getting results, you know, building confidence. Confidence is massive. And again, just on the Johnson one, I've said it already, but hearing his name being sung would have been like music to his ears, wouldn't it? Because we all know Johnson is a confidence player. He's always going to be that type of player. Players of his ability and his style are always confidence players because it's what gets them going. So
Brentford offered 18 million in January for him. Now, had he gone to Brentford in January, and he could quite easily have done that because we were not a shoo-in to go up at that point. Absolutely. Brendan would have had just the same problems at Brentford that he's had here because he would still be that 21-year-old boy learning his trade in a furnace, you know. So, and the only thing I would say, Des, everything you say is dead right, mate. Absolutely. The Keenan Davis point is a good one. The only thing I thought, and to me it was noticeable and a little bit dispiriting at Wolves, was how many times the ball was hit forward and came straight back. And I just think the one, you know, Taiwo's a centre forward. You know, Taiwo's got lots of attributes, but I don't think he's a hold-up centre forward. Sam Surridge, I think, is worth a run at some point because Sam's a good finisher.
Yeah.
But I think what we need, you know, I tell you what, I was watching the game last night, and with it being at Brighton, and I thought a younger Glenn Murray would have done us a treat last night. You know, somebody like that. And I just think, I just think that, I think when it comes to January, there obviously won't be as many signings because, you know, it's not possible. There'll be some ins and outs, but I think the one thing that we must go and do is we must go and get a good, you know, a target man. I'm not saying an old-fashioned centre forward, but somebody who's going to be.
Keenan Davis.
Yeah. Imagine, I've been watching Watford tonight, and they're 3-0 down at Millwall at half-time. So, you know, but somebody to just be that robust presence and to kind of hold the ball up and bring other people into play. And I think I'm backing up totally what Des says. And I think we need that. And then when we've got a guy who can hold it up, he can say, right, Jesse, you have it. Morgan, Brent, you can have it. You know what I mean? I just think we're missing that presence. And again, it doesn't reflect well on the recruitment team. What I'm saying, it would have been nice to have somebody. Maybe they saw Taiwo in that role, but I don't think Taiwo wants to spin off a defender and have a ball in front of him. He's not going to hold it up and say, lads, I'm going to play you into the game. Right. So, you know, but it's tough. Maybe, you know, delusion, that's an interesting idea, you know. Yeah. I was never delusional. No ideas, no divine light.
Dave, do you think they're trying to coach that into him? Do you think they're trying to make him into that player who's going to be that hold up?
Who, Taiwo, Glenn?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't see any evidence of it yet. Although there've been little cameos of Taiwo when he came on, but I just get the impression, to me, prime Taiwo was the chance against Leicester, right?
Yeah.
A lovely little move, straight through the middle, Taiwo running on. Now, I mean, we're talking about fine margins here, and maybe I'm digressing because that's what I do.
I love when you say them words, Dave. I do love it.
But Damari Gray doesn't score for Everton, right? Taiwo's shot goes inside the post instead of hitting it. Brendan scores his penalty. Now, where are we then, gentlemen? I know it's all speculation and hypotheticals, but you know, when you actually step back a minute and think about it, you know, we could have won at Everton. We could have got a good draw at Molineux, and maybe Leicester wouldn't have been the excremental show that it ended up being if Taiwo scores. So, you know, while it's tough and there's lots that Forest need to address, and we're not avoiding that. We know it's there because it's right in front of us. They've not generally had the rub of the green. I do think, though, the harder they work, the better they get, the luckier they'll get. You know what I mean? It's that thing. Mm-hmm. The more I practice, the luckier I get. So I think, but I'm like Des. I think it will come. I think we'll beat somebody, right? And I may be sticking my neck out that nobody expects us to beat, and we'll give them a walloping. And Forest will get back in the dressing room. They'll all sit there with Steve and Tatey and Andy Reid, and they'll go, bloody hell, how did we do that? You know what I mean? Because life's like that.
Yeah.
I think the last point Dave was making there, goals change football matches. So
absolutely.
None of us are accepting 0-0s and this is perfect. This is the way it's going to be. This is what's going to make us happy as a Forest fan. I'm somebody who believes, and probably wrongly so over the years, that Forest should go and try and win every game of football because we're bigger than the opposition. You know, in most cases we are, but not all the time. I hate this thing. I remember back when we was in League One and we was accepting a point against Swansea at home. It was ugly. I wouldn't accept that ever. I wouldn't accept a point at home against anyone. Go and win the football match. But the point is, we're in such a predicament. We've not coped well with the Premier League. We're accepting that. There's been massive issues around the club with signings and recruitment teams and whoever's fault it is. We're just accepting that we're not in a false position, you know, because we're not. We've been outplayed. On the face of it, we're the worst team in the league. If it was anyone else, we'd be laughing at them, calling them the worst team in the league. Yeah. So to this point, we have been. What we are accepting is we've got to improve in some way or another. And if we build it from solid defence, if we take some of these chances when they occur, you know, because we've built this solid foundation. Wolves was the one where I thought if Brennan Johnson scores that penalty and Yatesy nicks a header, somehow, despite being outplayed, you find a result. I don't think we were particularly competitive against Wolves. Not in the same way I spoke about as being competitive last night. But again, it's those things, and we accept that goals change football matches, and we need more from Johnson, and we need more from Lingard, and we need more from Gibbs White. but it's finding that formula, isn't it? And by accepting where we are, it's not. We're also accepting it's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change for Liverpool. You know, the next 2 games are going to be particularly difficult, and we're probably going to be right back at square one. But then when we come up against Palace and Brentford, you know, we've got to adapt the same kind of mentality as we've taken into the last few. I hate that. I think we should be going out, tearing into teams, playing third sort of way of playing off, like chasing the front play, chasing the other team down. You know, high intensity, high line, that kind of thing. But we've got to accept where we are. We're not accepting mediocre or less than average. You know, we've just got to accept that this is the way it's going to be to get us to a point we need to.
Pragmatic, Des. Pragmatic, mate.
Right, before we do the next bit, right, again as well, Peter, Irish guy, I saw a comment. I don't know how to please drop an email and we can arrange it. Right, this is what I'm going to tell you to do, Peter. Des is doing a show on Monday. Come on Des' show Monday morning, and you can have a debate with Des. Yes, Des. On Monday, 9 o'clock. Monday, 9 o'clock. My email is at the bottom. You can see the little clicker. If anyone wants to come on Des' show, get on, have a debate. This is why I'm here. So people, I see I can see the comments while everyone's talking and that. So people, as well as you, Peter, get on this show. If you disagree with everything, talk to Des or talk to Dave. Because I'm sitting back and I love to see people argue, and it is what it is. One player that come on, I'm gonna ask you, Glenn, Barry Coney, because me and Des and Dave, we've seen him in pre-season, and I liked him, and he's not been playing well because we know we've got Nico Williams and Iore, but he come on really good, didn't he, Glenn?
He did. He didn't have a lot of the ball. When he did, he looked bright. He was going forward defensively. He was putting in some good tackles in that back. He was playing the back right side, didn't he?
Yeah.
But there was obviously the wayward pass, which I didn't see until I saw the highlights. Was it the same one that came off Taiwo and went off? Was that the same?
Yes.
Because from where we were, it just looked like he'd crossed it and it had gone straight out. But it wasn't actually for Taiwo.
Yeah, it was a good cross, wasn't it?
Where we were, right? It looked like he'd just... I won't mention the lad's name. It began with a D, if you remember. It looked like he'd just whacked it as hard as he could and it went off for a goal kick. But it actually was a cross.
Yeah, I thought that was positive. I seen it, Glenn. I thought when he crossed it in, I thought, if that was in the middle of the goal, it could have happened. He could have scored it, but
yeah. My only, you're absolutely right. Some of the comments, he's got some pace and he got forward and that channel on the right hand side. Obviously, when you're a substitute, you look around, don't you? And you go, all right, when I come on, that's the area that I'm going to exploit, and that's what he was looking at. So he was obviously given a third of the field to run into and could put that ball in. I just want to see him come in a little bit more and offer a little bit more. I know Jono, similar, wasn't it, where he was isolated up there. There were 3 or 4 around him, really couldn't have an end product and flashed it across the goal. He didn't. Yes, when he came on, he showed some good signs. I don't think they gave him enough time, really, though, to get involved in the game all that much. But yes, excellent. I should look forward to. I should look forward to. I love the fact that you're engaging with the
Peter
the comments, particularly when you're then going, here go, Des, you deal with it.
Delegation, Des. He designated it.
This one, Des has a show on Monday. He said he wants different people on. Des can deal with it. I'll sat there and sat back.
What's it called, Dor? Do you want to give it a name?
It's called Dialing with Des. Dialing with Des, 9 o'clock Monday. We'll be talking about the Liverpool game as well. And the Arsenal games, so people.
So again, he thinks he wheeled Des out because it's probably going to be a defeat.
Des, can I just say, I've been on the 12th Man podcast, I think 2 or 3 at the last 4 weeks, and the lads say when they see me, they go, "Oh, defeat Dave's here again," because Forest have obviously not won. He's wheeled Asprey out, and they reckon that as soon as, say, if Forest beat Liverpool on Saturday, then I won't be on the 12-man podcast because the great man will be on. Oh, Dore's back.
Right, I'm going to plug it, Dore. Tune in on Monday night, 9 o'clock, dial in with Des. Come on and have your say. It's like a phone in. All you have to do is hit the link at the top of the page. Don't listen to what he's got to say, because we get to talk proper sense on Monday. We talk about all the defeats. We dissect them and we get to the crux of the issue. Dore comes in when we get a win and takes all the credit.
There's your link, people. Get on. Right. We'll talk about this then. We'll talk about Arsenal and Liverpool game. People in the comments, who was your man of the match yesterday? I know we speak about a few players, but okay, in the comments, who was your man of the match as well? We'll start with you, Glenn. Who was your man of the match and why?
Oh, for the first time in a number of games, it is a split decision for me. And I can't really, having thought about this all day, decide whether it's Scott McKenna or Steve Cook. And they both played vital parts in that centre of defence for me. Cook, as we said, offered a lot more kind of tactical nous and was right at in headwise, right behind everything that was coming in through that centre third through the middle of the field there. McKenna, I've not seen stretch his legs in the same way for a number of games actually, and he was playing particularly when Harry Toffolo was struggling and before he went off as almost a left back on that side. Phenomenal defensively again, led by those two, particularly Cook. I might have just talked myself into saying Steve Cook.
Next up, Dave, who was yours?
For the first time in a while, it's difficult to pick because there were people who actually had decent games. In the past few weeks, it's been difficult to pick because there hasn't really been an outstanding candidate. I'm going to stick with the person I had in my head as I walked out the stadium. If it was now, I think I'd probably go for Yatesy. But as I walked out the stadium at the Amex, Steve Cook was my man of the match because I thought Cookie had by far his best game of the season. I thought, he had Danny Welbeck to deal with, as you say, Ben. When corners were coming in, he had Lewis Dunk and Adam Webster to deal with. Their big units. He had a whack on the head, he took one for the team as well. I'm going to give it to Cookie because he has been much maligned. Everybody's just talking about his lack of pace and he's too old for this, that, and the other. And he's the one that most of the people would just go, right, him out, forget him, and just dismiss him, right? But Steve Cook is, I looked at last time. We needed some Premier League nous because there was Premier League nous all around us. Brighton were much cannier than Forest in getting decisions and working the game and working the officials and all this kind of thing, as have a lot of the other teams. But I thought Cookie brought that for us last night. I mean, I thought Yatesy was not brilliant technically, obviously, but
what Yates did.
Yeah. I thought with Ryan's personality, he captained not through a great shot or a brilliant piece of skill, but he captained through, I represent Nottingham Forest. Come with me, lads. We'll give it a whirl and see how it goes. You know what I mean? And I thought Yatesy did that. But McKenna was excellent. Dean made some cracking saves. The save late on, where I think he decided he might have started on his knees and then pushed it away, I think. But I'm going to give it to Cookie because Cookie's had a lot of stick. He's had some games where he's been found out this year for sure. We could have discarded him after the Tottenham game, when Harry Kane ran past him, and there've been other games when Steve, probably by his own admission, hasn't been at his best. But last night, I thought Cookie had a good game, and I would give it to him.
Last but not least, do Daly.
Yates. It was Yates for me. I appreciate what the guys have said about Cook. He played probably his best game of the season. I think Dave said earlier. I think this is why I would give it to Yates over Cook, and this is in no disrespect to anybody or what anyone said. Dave just said there about Yates doing what Yates does. I think there was a little bit more to that last night, and I think Brighton's weakest link is Danny Welbeck. Whilst he fits into their system, if they had a beast of a striker, they'd be a hell of a team. You know, if they had a Didier Drogba-esque type player up there, you know, they would be one hell of a football team because they were so pleasing on the eye.
Yeah.
They were getting in. But for me, playing one up front, you know, and Lallana playing deep and that kind of thing, almost, because they were very good, played into the defence's hands. That takes nothing away from Cook or McKenna. They still had a lot of defending to do. They still had players running at them for left, right, and centre. But why I give it Yates is he was the one who had to control some of that running. He had to get in front of the defence, you know, and stop some of those players doing what they do in front of him, playing the little triangles. You know, at times he's running from one to the other to the other. You know what I mean? So I think, again, Yates didn't just do what he does in normal situations. He had to play against that formation, that team. You know, he had to break it up against possibly the second best passing team we've seen this season.
Yeah.
And he had to get really in amongst it in that midfield. And by doing the things he did, you know, not shirking a thing, whether it was a foul on him or winning a professional free kick, you know, he did what he had to do. And then he still finds himself getting forward, you know, still high up the pitch at times, doing things. And again, that all goes back to that athleticism and the fitness I've been talking about. So for those reasons, I think Yates was the key factor in us getting something, especially in that second half. He was the one in the faces. He was the one frustrating them. He was the one almost pushing them back when they were coming in towards him. He was having to go back to the holding midfield players, back to Dunk, back to Webster, build again. You know, Yates getting about, getting in the face. They had to build again. When the ball came over, Cook and McKenna were brilliant at what they did. But Yates was forcing them into playing a game that they weren't used to playing.
Yeah. It was a captain's knock, Des, wasn't it?
100%. Man match, I think I've got to give it to Cooker. I think he's. I love Ryan Yates. Both.
Can I just say I've oscillated? That's a great word. I have oscillated between
what's your
Yates
word,
and Cookie.
Dave, man?
And everything Des said about Yatesy, I was thinking, yeah, he's dead right. He's dead right. You know
People in the comments, go on Twitter and put PM Dave, because these words, I don't know.
Do you know if Dave don't get at least 8 players into his man of the match speech?
People in the comments.
I don't like leave anybody out, Des. I'm an inclusive person, mate. You know me.
Listen, I'll go for Cooker. He was my man of the match. Left the ground, I thought about it, and yeah, he had done it. He had done it well in his back pocket. But yeah, right, that's it. I think we'll forget about yesterday's game, and let's talk about those 2 games. The most easiest game yet. I've got tomorrow. I've got a show at 9 o'clock. No, 8 o'clock. Liverpool fan. Yeah, can't wait for that. So please watch out for that. It's Dave. His name's Dave. I think his name is. Yeah. So that'll be 8 o'clock tomorrow. Where should I start with? Let me start with you, Glenn. 2 easy games. Are you confident? People in the comments as well. How are you feeling?
I've got half hour.
So let's make it short. Let's make it short, people. Glenn, 2 big games.
When the final whistle went at Wembley, these sorts of games are the things that I immediately thought about.
Yeah.
Liverpool at home and Arsenal at the Emirates, and they were the ones. We've got this to look forward to.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've got to think about that, haven't we? We've got to think that this is what we're going to look forward to for this year. Looking beyond May, you can do if you want to. But this is what we're looking forward to. You can't go into these games. Okay, the doom mongers amongst us who are saying that Brighton and Hove Albion 3, Nottingham Forest 0, right? You've got to go into these games. Sorry, Dave. You've got to go into these games going, let's see how it goes. And let's see how it goes. And we know that it's going to be a completely different set of circumstances going on Saturday.
Yeah.
There will be comparisons obviously made with the FA Cup run. There will be comparisons made with who played in that game compared to who will play on Saturday. But I can't wait. I can't wait. I wish I was there like you guys will be. I can't wait to watch it. I have got a ticket for the Emirates though, so I'm going to go for that. Yeah,
Good.
I'm sitting with a gooner. I can't wait. It's going to be a great.
We'll meet
great
up. Glenn, we'll meet up. We'll meet up. That's all that matters. We'll meet up.
But though, like I said, those sorts of games are the reason why this is such a magic year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, before we get David, Curtis, I'm coming for you next week, Curtis. I'm coming for you. No hiding away, Mr. Curtis Shaw. Shout out Curtis Shaw. He'll be on the Arsenal preview show next week. I think it's Friday, 9 o'clock. Curtis, don't go hiding. I'm coming for you. As you know, he's a big Arsenal fan as well, and he is YouTube as well. So make sure everyone subscribe to Curtis Shaw. Like I said, Curtis. And you, Katie, don't go hiding. Dave, I've got like a half an hour section for you about what these next games.
Yeah, Dave rambles on. I should have my own country walks program or something. Can I just say I was getting slightly emotional there? Glenn was really sort of touching my heartstrings, and he's right. These are the games that we all dreamt of. Stood on that big terrace up at Wembley, absolutely, and bang on. I mean, I'm not one for being accused of being delusional at all, but I think we'll beat Liverpool 4-0, and I think we'll go to the Emirates and win 5-2. And if anybody wants to call me delusional, let them go. You know what I mean? I am totally delusional. They can also accuse me of having that awful disease, the happy clap, if they want. You know what I mean? So that's up to them. But I think, the romance says that we will go and beat these teams. And yeah, but reality is that they're going to be incredibly difficult tasks. They're tasks that, as Glenn said, we wanted. Steve wants. The team wants. The club wants. These are going to be great occasions. They may turn out to be chastening experiences. But, I'm not going to kind of, if you want a comparison, there's another club that I know relatively close by who were going to Accrington last Saturday. Now, if anybody wants to go to Accrington,
hey, don't mention that. Don't mention this on this channel. Okay?
I can't remember the name of that club, but I know they played Accrington Stanley, right? I would rather face the Champions League runners-up, one of the best teams in the world at our place, and then go to the resurgent, almost revelatory league leaders, because to me, they are the revelation. Arsenal. If you'd have seen them, last year, you'd have kind of thought, well, Arsenal are very beatable. If it was last year's Arsenal, I'd actually fancy us to kind of get something. But we did beat Arsenal last season. Yeah, we did, undeservedly so. But they stuck with Arteta, and now, I'm going on the game that they played against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, and they were terrific. They were so good to watch. And what they've also done, they've just gone to Leeds and they've been down to 10 men and outplayed, and they've showed some steel that Arsenal have not had for a long, long time. So they're going to be incredibly difficult tasks for Forest, but better to be in these cauldrons than be somewhere else, really. And I'm just going to back up what Glenn said. So really looking forward to both occasions. Do I think we win? Don't ask me.
Be optimistic, Dave. Be optimistic.
Yeah, all right then. I think we'll see Liverpool off 4-1. In fact, we'll just destroy them. I mean, what you have to remember is Klopp won't be on the touchline on Saturday because I think he's going to Rock City or something while the game's on. And then we go to Arsenal, and what the one thing that teams have to guard against us is not to take us for granted, right? Because they could, and I think Brighton, that kind of snuck out of their psyche towards the end of that game, and they're like, why aren't we beating these? They're bottom and struggling. And so the one thing I would say about Forest, and particularly people like Ryan Yates and people like that, and Steve Cook and Scott McKenna, they don't assume anything. They never get ahead of themselves. They don't take what they're doing for granted. So what you will get with Forest, whether it's pleasant on the eye or not, you'll get honesty and effort in both games. If it ends up not being good enough, well then fair enough. But I think you will get honesty and effort from them, and they're going to be very difficult. And you can't ask for more. As Des says, what I want is what he's been talking about, and that is I want Forest to earn the respect of Liverpool and Arsenal. So the pair of them go away from playing Forest and think, oh, that wasn't as easy as we imagined. That was actually quite difficult. And I think, if Forest are respectable then and compete, then I'll take that.
Yep. Dad, can you beat that? What just Dave?
Of course he can.
I'm not sure.
He can murder that.
Well, listening to the guys, of course, Dave was romancing as he always does. Always the romantic approach. And I'm going to offer a bit. He used the term. I'm going to offer a bit more of a pragmatic approach. You know what I always say to teams? Of course, I speak to a lot of football fans through some of the things I do. I've just been a massive football fan in general, not just a Forest fan. Always kept an eye on the Premier League, and whenever a team's been in our position and been sort of, as it appears, slipping away rapidly at the start of the season, I always say to teams that you'll get a result against the big boy. Somewhere along the line, it tends to happen. It tends to be a real shock amongst. Let's face it. There's five or six massive teams in the massive teams in the Premier League. There's 10 games of football. The likelihood is somewhere along the line, and it does tend to happen historically. If you look back,
Watford 3, Liverpool 0 last year.
Exactly. You get a
Norwich beat them as well, didn't they?
No.
Norwich beat City one year. I know that.
City, Norwich beat City 1-0. Yeah.
But regardless of individual occasions, it tends to happen every season.
Yeah.
I actually remember when Derby went down, they never got a result, but Liverpool had to score in the last minute when they did it. Because I have looked this up, and you tend to get a big result. So all we can sort of go on is the fact that we have seen some improvement. We go into these fixtures in a better position than we were. Before Brighton. More confidence. The likelihood is, everybody shares the same opinion. We're going to get beat, but we're not accepting it. We're just being pragmatic. We'll go into the game, give it everything we've got. And Dave referred to the fact I'd said it, the competitiveness. All we really want is for teams to respect that they've been in a football match. And that's when we say all this thing about we'll support you ever more, you are my Forest, all these things, that's all we can really ask for. Because if the team is not up to it and not up to beating these guys, they're not up to it. But if they give it everything, they approach it properly, they do well at what they're good at. Trying to contain Liverpool when you've not got football or Arsenal as brilliant as they are, is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
But on the other hand as well, I mentioned right at the start of what I'm saying here that I'm a massive football fan. And don't get me wrong, it's Forest first. The result is everything. I absolutely want us to come away and have had the best day. And that I'd take that over everything. But let's not forget, as football fans, and as Glenn started with, we want to watch these teams play. This is what being in the Premier League's about. I've been watching Arsenal this season thinking, well, I've always got a bit of a soft spot for Arsenal since the Invincibles, and I hate them when we play them, but I've got a bit of a soft spot when we go. And what they're doing there, with a team of young players, some good English players as well, you can't help but admire. And we got to a point at City, didn't we, Dave, where we was at City. Yeah. And eventually you've kind of got to switch off to the fact that he's getting 3, 4, 5, 6. And you've got to go, wow, look at this guy. Look at Cancelo as a footballer. Look at this Alvarez, who's the reserve striker.
Yeah.
This is football. This is what we enjoy. This is where, if we do get a beating, we have to learn from it.
Yeah.
Like the City game, we might have learned lessons from the City game.
Yeah.
The Brighton game. I'm not saying it's necessarily been the case and been judged, but I made reference to the fact that they were probably the second best passing team we played. So it could have been some footy somewhere that this is our City do it, this is our Brighton do it. When we play Arsenal, we might have learned lessons from the City game. We know the sort of relationship with Arteta and Pep and City, and now there's some City players there now as well. So they might have learned lessons, and that again, going back to that building from that solid base, it might just set us in good stead to perform better than we have done against City.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees in that. There's no guarantees we're going to get a result. But all we can do is keep coming up against these teams, keep facing them, and make it better for it. And if what seems inevitable at the moment, which is relegation, let's not make no bones about it. It seems inevitable. If it happens, hopefully it makes us a stronger team to come back, face it again. Well, deal with the Championship first of all. I'm not saying we'd automatically come back, but if we did, we come back again. And again, everybody around the place is more in tune with what they're doing. So for us, as much as we want a result, it'd be the best day ever if we get them. Just remember what the Premier League is about, like what Ben says, like what Dave says. These teams are something else as well. If you're a football fan, if you're a purist, if you like talking about it like what we do, you're going to take so much from it. And think, wow, I've seen this guy play. We've seen Haaland play. We'll get to see Salah. These are the guys at the absolute top of their game. Absolute top peak. We've been watching, I don't know, Jordan Rhodes play and thinking,
don't mention him. Don't mention it, Jordan Rhodes.
But what would you prefer? And again, if we go into the mindset that we're going to get behind the team's full of heart from the performance against Brighton. We're full of heart in the stands. You're creating a positive environment to give them a chance to build forward.
I tell you what, mate, Des, you're dead right, mate. What I'm always quite conscious of is that while I love Forest, I don't want football to be just Forest, right? I want to know broadly about the game. So, the way I look at it is like when people have conversations now about Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden and what have you. I can say I saw that guy actually in a stadium and watched him play. You know what I mean? And in years to come, when we still love Forest, but these games are like consigned to history, we can say I was there, and I think that's really important. And for me, I just want to see. I want Forest to win every game. I want Forest to be the most dominant team the planet's ever seen. We all want that, but at the same time, I want to be able to say that I've seen great footballers doing their thing. I've never seen Messi play in the flesh. I never saw Cruyff or Pele or Beckenbauer, any of these greats from the past. So I want to, we tick our football grounds off that we go to, and I want to kind of tick off these great players. And so, like as you say, these next, Saturday and then the following Sunday, we're going to see great players. Obviously, we want those great players to end up defeated and walking out of the City ground in the Emirates with with tears running down their cheeks and having been destroyed. But in terms of loving, I've always said love of the game is greater than love of one's club. If you only love one club, then you're on half missing out on stuff outside,
But what we have to remember as well is to really get behind them. Everybody takes pride, and not just to be happy clappy. I never passed it on to Dave. Just to get behind them and give it a real go, because let's not forget, it's all right when people get up angry when we're 4-0 down. I get angry. I've been angry in games this season, but it's not a good place to be, is it? When we've been clinging on to this for years. The one thing we needed to do, we needed to get this sort of monkey off our back and get in the Premier League and do what we're doing. So what's the point being angry if we're getting beat 4-0 by Liverpool? There's no point whatsoever. Keep singing, keep cheering, keep getting behind the side, and then all the nice comments like what we receive after away games. Brighton fans saying you're the best fans we've played, and Klopp last season saying, "Wow, that was like a European night at Anfield." If we're going to get beat 4-0, let's get some praise for being the best fans in the league. That's brilliant for me, because it's not everything. Again, the result comes first. Look at how many football grounds we criticised for being a library. We were doing it last night in terms of some chanting. Arsenal, it's a library. But look at the football they play. What do you want? What do you actually want from this? Do you want a great experience and environment to enjoy your team, or do you want a morgue and to win every week. So again, we've got to do our bit, get behind it, enjoy it, and just see what bloody happens.
Yeah.
That says it all.
Oh,
From the
mate.
Mr.
Well said,
Daily. That is, but that bloody hell, Dave, you got something to do. That was fantastic, Des. Thank you, Des. But like I said, people, like I said, let's enjoy it. We're in the Premier League. Forget Jordan Rhodes. We're playing Malasala. Who else we got? We've got Jesus. Bring them on. Right. It's been a fantastic show. Thank you for everyone that has watched this. Thank you to Glenn, Des, and Dave, as usual. Well, I got a nice 2 weeks off work, so there'll be loads of content coming up. Tomorrow, I've got my Liverpool preview. That starts at 8 o'clock. Got a review show. Hopefully, we beat Liverpool on a Sunday. Then we've got Arsenal as well. So, people, if you do enjoy this, do one favor, massive favor from there. Hit the like button as well. Des has got like a do daily Des. Do a little plug, Des.
Monday night, if you want to talk about the weekend, talk about anything Forest related.
Peter, where are you, Peter? Where are you?
Peter, I'm looking forward to talking to you, I think. So easy on me. I tend to do this after door shirks and defeats. So I have to get my hard hat out and do my best. Trying to manage the comments when it's just criticism left, right, and centre. But no, honestly, guys, enjoying the show. It's been really good. Not done it for a few weeks because we played on Monday night. Queen passed away, unfortunately. So there's lots of things that meant it's not happened. But it'd be good to get back on, start the season. It was really good, positive. Absolutely anybody can come on. You know, Peter, Dave, Glenn, anyone. Just come in, sit behind, and we'll let you in. Just hit the link at the top of the page. Margaret, anyone. If you want to come on, just please message me. I got a message from Peter. I've seen it. I will get back to you. There's no go hiding. So, yeah, people, anyone, if you can, Monday night, dial in Des. Get on. Right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Des. And thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone. Like I said, people, tomorrow, 8 o'clock, I'm doing a preview for the Liverpool game. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun because, like I said, I hate Liverpool. And as you know, me and my brother have been giving daggers to each other all week. So it's going to be fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'll make sure you're there tomorrow. Peace and love, people. And keep the faith. So we're almost there. You Reds.